What's up, people? Hey, we're going to be on page 218.
218.
218.
That's right.
And we're doing lesson 4-2, hopefully.
Hopefully.
So anyway, so 218, let's take a look. We're going to carry on with scatter plots. Should be enjoyable.
Yeah.
Let's take a listen.
How can you describe the association of two data sets? Think about this question during the lesson.
Okay, I will. I'm excited.
Georgia and her classmates are measuring their height and arm span. They record their data in a table. What relationship might there be between the two measurements?
So what kind of relationship could we have, right? Again, we should be able to come up with three types of relationships that we could see on a scatter plot. What are they? You got to speak up. Yeah, positive, negative, and none, okay? So it could be one of those three. I don't really know. Is there an association between height and arm span?
Boy, maybe we should look at some type of scatter plot.
It's a great idea, Mr. Knoll. Let's check it out. Maybe they'll do that for us.
Arm span might increase when height increases.
Might.
But this relationship is difficult to determine from the data presented in the table.
I agree with
How
that.
can they figure out what relationship, if any, exists between the two sets of measurements?
Don't know.
Georgia needs to plot the data points
Put it
on
in
a
the
scatter
tumble
plot.
machine.
She makes the x-axis represent the height,
No, we don't want to do
and
that.
the y-axis the arm span.
Okay.
Then she looks at the table and sees that all the data is between 58 and 67.
So we're making a
So
scatter plot.
Georgia makes a discontinuous scale
That's the lightning
that
bolt.
jumps from 0 to 56 on each axis.
That's great.
Now, let's plot the data points in a scatter plot.
Okay.
Georgia can next use a pencil to find a line that passes through the middle of the plotted points.
Okay. So guys, hey, we call this line. This is what we're going to work on today. We have a special name for this line that they've represented with the pencil. We call that a trend line.
Trend line.
Okay, we'll talk about what makes a good or bad trend line. And guys, what you need to know is trend lines
That's a good one.
will go in the direction of our association or our pattern. So guys, in this case, yeah, we kind of see positive association here. All right, so that's why the pencil is going uphill, having positive slope. And then we're okay if our pencil goes through some of our points, and we'd like to have roughly the same amount of points above and below that trend line. So I've got 1, 2, 3 below, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 above, and it looks like it goes through 1 or 2. So not bad, right? I would argue we can move it up just a smidge, but whatever. I'm good with this. Okay? Let's see what they say about trend lines.
Let's see.
This line that passes through the middle of the plotted points is called a trend line.
I just said that.
She found a good trend line because many of the points are the same distance from the line.
Yep.
By drawing a trend line, how can Georgia determine the relationship between height and arm length?
Well, guys, once we have that trend line, we can use that to say, hey, basically ask yourself, what kind of slope do you see? I see a positive slope. If you see positive slope, that means we will have a positive association, which means as the x value increases, the y value increases. Seems to make sense, Mr. Knoll?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the slope of the line.
Wow.
The slope is positive.
It's like I knew what they were going to say.
Georgia can draw a trend line on the scatter plot to determine that there is a positive relationship between height and arm span. As height increases, arm span tends to increase as well.
This is true.
This is one way to describe the relationship between two sets of data.
So again, paired data, right? There's that key word again. Okay, so there we go. You guys want to do the try it? Feel like we could. Mr. Knoll's going to hit the try it for us here.
Try it.
And then we're going to try it, or you're going to try it. Maybe you want to pause the video. Use a pencil to find the trend line. Sketch the trend line. Okay. Does it look like they already have a trend line here?
They already do. I don't know if the kids have it in their book, though, so they can use that one as a good example.
There you go. So this is a good example. I mean, I bet you draw one that's better than this. I mean, like if I was going to draw one, Mr. No, I don't think I'd make mine as steep probably do something
you
like
make it
that.
steeper.
This is less steep, right? 2, 4, 2. Well, look at that. I got 4 above and 4 below. That's really what we're after here, people, right? That means my line is kind of in the middle, right, between all the dots, which is what we want. So we're going to learn some new words here in just a second, other than classifying this as being positive association. We're going to learn some new words to describe them as well. So without further ado, we will get into some new words here. Get excited. Take a listen.
The Johansons own an ice cream shop near the beach.
I love
The
it.
scatter plots show their sales by daily high temperature. They compare their sales by daily high temperature to the number of beachgoers.
Yep.
Describe the associations shown.
Okay. So, again, you guys can look at these graphs, and there's definitely a pattern to those dots, right? What is the pattern? Are they going uphill? Are they going downhill? Who's to say, right? Well, there to say right there. So ice cream sales, guys. This one, positive association, right? As the temperature increases, ice cream sales increase. That makes sense when it gets hot out. Ice cream is good.
But
Okay. However, now we're going to introduce strong and weak. These are like more adjectives that can describe. So if we take a look at ice cream sales, are the dots really close to the trend line that the book drew? Nah, not really, right? They're kind of spaced out close to the line, but they're not that close to it, okay? As compared with, right? Yeah, see, so they're close, but they're not that close. So we would call this a weak association. So it is still positive, right? But it is also weak as well. So positive, weak association, okay? Let's look at our other graph over here. Okay, beach visitors. So this one, so you guys look at your trend line here. Again, this one, wow, there's tons of dots really close to that trend line.
real close, except this one.
Yeah. What do we call this one? That's right. Somebody said outlier. Nice job. So the opposite happens on this one, guys. Still positive association. So as the x values, in this case the temperature increases, the number of people are increasing. Okay, the only difference is all these dots are crammed a lot closer to our line. This does not have weak association. This one has strong association, right? So these are two good. So if you're not sure what's strong and what's weak on a graph, look at these two examples here. Okay? I think we should be good. There's example 2. So now we've got a couple more adjectives that we can add to our descriptions.
Strong and weak.
Strong and weak. Yep.
Ooh.
Okay.
There goes another one.
So here comes another new word. So positive, negative, strong, weak. Now we are going to get 2 more in here. All right? And they're right here in the question. So it wants to know, does this scatter plot show linear or nonlinear? Okay? We are very familiar with linear. Guys, we've been dealing with linear functions and equations as we graph them. They make straight lines. That's what linear means, straight lines. So do all these dots here, do you think they form a straight line? No. No, they don't, right? So I see a nice curve, okay, in these dots. And when we see a curve or we see a circle, right, those are non-linear patterns. They're allowed to be patterns. That's perfectly fine. So, guys, we would say on this one, you get to be non-linear, right? Do you get to be anything else? No. No, you're just non-linear.
And we would say as the height increases,
Yeah.
time increases, but then
Decreases.
decreases.
Okay? All right. So here's our 3 scatter plots. This is our turn. Identify the association between the data. If there is none, state so. So we are going to use all of our new words, okay? So the very first thing we're going to look at here. So we're going to go on A. If you guys think you can draw a trend line, or if there's a trend to it, draw a trend line. I believe there is one here on A. So I think it looks something like that. Okay? So let's describe this. First off, this is linear. Okay?
Linear.
So now we have positive or negative. This one's definitely positive. And then we will also describe it as strong or weak. Yes, you guessed correctly. This one is
Strong.
strong.
Why is it strong?
Why is it strong? Well, Mr. No, all of these dots are scrunched in really close to the trend line that I drew. If
Gotcha.
they were spaced out further away, that would be weak.
Thank you.
Okay. Number B, here we go. Is there a pattern to these dots? Yeah, I would say there is, guys. It definitely looks, right, very circular in nature. So is this linear? Absolutely not. This is non-linear. Okay? Non-linear. And that's all you get to be. When you're non-linear, you're boring. That's all you are. Get out of here. All right, letter C. We got a pattern here.
Oh, a lot of stuff all over the place.
Yeah, when you got dots everywhere, crew, we're not going to have any kind of association here. So just like non-linear, you can put no association for that one, and that's all it can ever be, right? It can't be positive or negative or strong or weak or anything, right? There's just no association. Okay, so there's our whole bunch of new words, some of them not as new as others, okay, but this is what we're going to use now. Every time we see a scatter plot, I want you guys to describe it with as many words as you can. But remember, if you're writing one of these words here, that's all you'll ever get to be. Okay, if you're going to write down positive, you better write down linear. If you write down negative, you better write down linear. And then you better tell me if it's strong or weak. Okay? So guys, hey, we're going to move on to our key concepts, which I believe are on page 220. And we'll see you here in just a little bit.